Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gassy Jack Gear Reviews. I have a bit of a comparison today for you that I'm really excited about. It's been something that I've been promising for a while now. But before we get started, I'm going to do a customary wristwatch check. I do have the Casio F91W there, the most prolific watch in the world, and the trusty watch that I probably wear most out of any of my watches, believe it or not. It's one of those watches you don't have to worry about. You can't even feel it on the wrist, so it's kind of the go-to watch while you're kind of just bumming around. But anyway, back to the sort of comparison here. What we have here is two divers. We have on the right-hand side here, we have the Seiko SKX. And on the left here, we have the Rolex Submariner 114060, the no-date version. And I just picked this up 2 days ago. I'd had it on order for not that long, actually. I think I only had it on order for about a week and a half. I ordered it. I got a little nervous, I'll be honest, because I had heard these grumblings about Rolex saying, or people saying that Rolex was sort of stopping all production of sports model watches. For the time being, I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't hear a lot more about it. It was probably just all a bunch of hype. As many people know, Rolex is fantastic at marketing and getting driving demand up. And I didn't even know if it was them. I don't know if this is just an annual thing that happens before some of these big watch shows. I know Bezel World is coming up in March. It's currently February. So I don't know if there's any truth to that or not. But I had planned on getting it in the next few months anyway. So I thought, you know what, just put the order in. Hope for the best, and sure enough, it came in about a week and a half. But without further ado, I'm going to start with the SKX here on the right-hand side. The SKX, I have done a few modifications to this, as you will notice. First, and probably most obvious, is the bracelet. This is a strap code Oyster bracelet, and it has the diver ratcheting system on it. So this is a quick adjust system, and when we get to the Rolex, you will see that it does have a quick adjust system as well. This one, you don't even have to take it off the wrist. However, it is more visible when you do it. So if you adjust it, then you have your clasp looking like this rather than like this, or anywhere along that sort of spectrum here. If we kind of, it's that, it's maximum, that's probably about, I'm going to say maybe 7 millimeters, based on the fact that these are 5 millimeters. I'm going to say that's 7 millimeters. And you just kind of push it in. You don't have to do anything else except to push it to ratchet it back in. And then it does have the opening, the dual lock on either side, or both sides, I should say. And it has a nice milled clasp there. And you can kind of see it has, I forget what they call that, the circular pattern. Chime in if you remember what that's called. I don't really care, to be honest. Anyway, and it just snaps back in place. That was the first mod. The second mod I have here, and you might notice this, is the bezel. This is a ceramic bezel. And I forget who I got that from. There's a lot of manufacturers, there's not a lot, but there's a few manufacturers out there that make ceramic bezels for a lot of watches, and certainly the SKX is a popular modded watch. So there's no shortage of ceramic bezels out there in different colors for this. I went with the black because I do like that. I'll be honest, I like that Rolex Submariner look. And some people will say this is an homage anyway to the Rolex Submariner. So I thought, okay, the hell with it. I'm going with the black one. It has also a sapphire crystal in there. That I do remember where I got that from. That one is from Crystal Times, and you can see it has a AR coating, and it's a blue AR coating. The lights are all over this thing, so I don't want you to think, oh, it's picking up a lot of reflection there. It's because I have these fluorescent lights, 3 of them beaming on this at close range. So typically you won't see reflection in this. It's quite good. And those are the modifications that I have. I haven't done anything else. You will see that this has a day and a date wheel on there It's not correct. I haven't been wearing this in the last little while. Well, since the 14th. You see there. This does not have hacking, which means that if I unscrew this crown here, it does have a screw down crown, of course, and everyone who knows SKX, not to be confused with my Russian military rifle. If I pull it out all the way, those seconds don't stop. Okay, I pulled it out all the way. It does not stop. That means it's not hacking. The seconds do not stop. Sorry about that. This is much more difficult behind the camera. If anyone makes YouTube videos, you will know that it is, you know, you're kind of hunched over the my phone here, and it's propped up on a few books, and it looks anything but professional. I'll be honest, if you saw behind the scenes. Anyway, going on to, I'm just going to do some comparisons, go back and forth. So we have the Rolex Submariner. No date, so it does not have a date. It does have a ceramic bezel. Okay, it's much nicer. And this is a comparison, so why don't I compare them right side by side? You know, I can hear people going, "Hold them side by side, you idiot!" Okay, and I'll kind of just turn them, and I'm not sure. I mean, the one that on the SKX, I mean, you can only get so good. It's ceramics kind of, I don't know, I think ceramics kind of ceramic. But the big difference is that the Rolex, the numbers being filled in, and I'll be honest, the numbers being filled in on this one, they're actually painted with platinum. And these are painted with, I don't know what, but these ones are much more, on the SKX, they're much more white. And the Rolex are much more, I mean, on camera, they almost look beige. In person, they kind of look like between beige and white. But it's actually platinum, okay? They both have a pip on them. You can see the pip there. And you can see the pip there. They're both kind of lined in metal. I'm going to guess, and I don't know, but I know the inside, so that if we look at the markers on the Rolex, the Loom, they're loomed. These are loomed as well. These are outlined and set in white gold. These are not outlined in anything except for, if you can kind of see, the outer edge is a little whiter. And I'll be honest, they're kind of creamy. They look very creamy on camera, but I'm kind of looking at them off camera and back on camera. They're very creamy looking on camera, which I dig. These ones are white. And again, they look a little creamy on camera, but they are not. If you see them in person, they're white. And then these ones look ultra creamy, and they're kind of off camera. They're kind of creamy. So let me see here. You can see the bezels themselves, and they are both stock bezels. I didn't change the bezel on the SKX, the bezel ring, I should say. You can kind of see it's like the double coin edge. And the Rolex, very classic. It's kind of what everyone has kind of modeled theirs after, the sort of standard coin edge. And there's others you can get for the SKX. I don't know if I keep the SKX, and I probably will, I might change this to one of those much more fine coin edge rather than this kind of bulky one. It looks really, really nice with that. Let me see. Let's do a couple of specs. So the SKX, the case, it's 42.5 millimeters wide. Let me just straighten these out. The Rolex is 40. And I'm going to put them like side by side. So, you know, you be the judge. Off camera, the SKX to me looks bulkier, but it does not really look wider, I'll be honest. But it is. it's 2.5 millimeters wider, which is significant when we're talking about watches. The lug to lug width, so from here to there, on the SKX, it is 46 millimeters. And on the Rolex, it's actually 48 millimeters. So again, if you're looking at it. So from here to here, 48, from here to here, 46, and then from side to side on the SKX, what did I say? It's 42.5, and it's 40 exactly, lug to lug, sorry, side to side, and that's not including the crown or crown protectors, okay? The lugs, or the bracelet, where the bracelet hooks into the watch, that's called the lug width. And on the SKX, it's 22 millimeters, and it's 20 on the Rolex. They both have, well, the bracelets are similar in nature in that it has, the SKX has the aftermarket Oyster bracelet on it. And then, of course, the Rolex has the Oyster bracelet, and it's made famous. And you can kind of see it really tapers down. I don't know, so it starts at 20, and I'll be honest, I don't know what it tapers down to, but it's quite thin and very comfortable. Now, this clasp is something very, very special. This clasp, I wish, came on every single bracelet. And I'm not just talking about Rolex. I hope when the patent runs out on this, that everyone jumps on this style. And I'm going to open it up. So it has the Oyster Clasp, so it's a double lock system. So it pops open there, okay? And then it's hinged. So this part here, hinges. So I grab that, and you see here, if I can show it, it pops up. And then, so that actually, this here, let me see if I can do this. You can see it's hinged. There we go. It's hinged. You can see how that hooks in to there. Okay, so these are little details I do want to show you. It's got a nice milled clasp, etched in with brand name there, Rolex. What does it say there? Steel inox. What does that even say? 22, is it 22Y? Whatever, not important. The Rolex case back, very, very, very boring. They don't do anything. They don't even put their name in there, okay? They don't put their name in there. You do need a special Rolex tool to open up that case back. And over here, we'll just look at the SKX. Has the design there. Everyone knows what that is. Who knows? Seiko. It's a tsunami wave. Pretty cool. Am I holding it right? Let me see. There it is. Okay. The tsunami wave. Pretty cool. And it has a standard screw-in case back that you can open up with any case back tool, which I kind of like. Not a big deal because I'm not going to be, I don't really go into these. I'm not going to do any modifications to the Rolex, so it doesn't really matter. For the SKX, these watches you do tend to modify quite a bit, so it is nice to have a standard case back removal system tool. This is what I want to get to. You notice where that bracelet is set in there, and I might not be telling you anything you don't know, but it's worth going over for those who don't know. If you can pop this out, okay? I'm going to pull on it. You heard that. Snap in, snap out. And then watch this. you can actually move it along, okay, anywhere, and just pop it back. And this here, I don't know how much play this is. Let me see, from here all the way to there. Geez, like that seems like it's gotta be 10 millimeters. It's gotta be. You can chime in there, but that is fantastic for guys like me who have these skinny wrists with no fat on them. You have to get a perfect fit, and that's why I do have that ratchet system on the SKX, so that I can get a perfect fit. But that perfect fit on the SKX, even with this strap code, comes with a price, and the price is poor aesthetics, right? Even if I typically, it will only be this much difference, which is what, 1.5 millimeters maybe? So maybe in the morning, if my wrists are warm after going for a run or something like that, I might be out like that much, and then I pop it in, okay? But let's say my wrist size wasn't exactly what it is. I might be like, you know, this all the time, or this all the time. It just happens to be that I got it perfectly, like it does fit me quite well this way. And then once in a blue moon, like I said, once in a blue moon, I have it like this for maybe a half an hour before my wrists sort of cool down and shrink a bit. But this one here, you can get a dead on accurate fit. And that is why I think this is probably, in my opinion, the best bracelet, bar none, that I have ever seen. You can chime in if you think there are any better bracelets. I shouldn't say bracelet. I should correct myself and say clasp systems. I think this clasp is probably the best clasp on the market. I'm looking at, you know, watches in my future, and I do like the Datejust. I love the Explorer. You know, if I could afford both, I'll get both eventually. And that's one of the things, you know, if I just keep on saving my pennies and kind of go and knock off some of the watches on my wish list. The Datejust is on my wish list. The Explorer is definitely on my wish list. If I could only get one of them, one more watch, I would probably get the Explorer, I think. And the Explorer has an Oyster Clasp, but it does not have that ratcheting system. Now, this bracelet will actually fit if what I'm told is that it will fit the Explorer, but Rolex will not sell you an additional bracelet. That's what I've heard as well. You know, I could pop it on and off, but I'm sure as hell not going to do that. But what it does have, and I didn't realize until I went to another dealership. Sorry, I'm just pulling on my gloves here. When I went to another dealership and looked at the Explorer, when I look at it, when you look at the sides, you're like, oh, it doesn't have, you know, little holes in it to adjust it. But if you look on the inside, and on the Datejust as well, and I don't know if it's all their Oyster bracelets besides the Explorer with this other system, but if you look on the inside, they do have like indentations, so you can move. Let me pull this open here. You can move this portion in the Explorer and the Datejusts, and I assume all the other Oyster bracelets. You can move them. So when you see them in the dealership, they're usually on the center. There are indentations, not holes all the way through, but indentations where these pins can be put, one to the left and one to the right. So I believe they're 2 millimeters. So you have 4 millimeters of play with the standard Oyster bracelets, whereas you have about 10 millimeters of play with the Submariner Oyster bracelet. So again, the best bracelet on the market, I believe. There is no comparison with these two watches if you're going to talk movements. It's silly too. The SKX workhorse movement, the 7S26 movement, which is a very popular movement in Seiko's lineups altogether. But I think it's probably made most famous in the SKX. It's a great movement, but it's not an accurate movement. It's a workhorse movement. It's non-hacking, non-hand winding. You kind of have to do the Seiko shuffle if you haven't worn your watch in a while, and that's fine. That for me, that's not a deal killer at all. The Loom is fantastic in both watches. In the Seiko, it is a green loom. In the Rolex, it is a blue loom. And I don't know which loom is better. I kind of feel like the Seiko loom is brighter, but what I've heard, and I haven't tried this yet, it's probably something I will try and get back and do another video, but I have heard that the Rolex loom lasts longer. I've had no problems with the any of my Seiko diving watches with the loom lasting throughout the night to the point where I can wake up in the middle of the night and look and see the time. But like I said, have heard that the Rolex does last longer. I think, in my opinion, the loom on the Seikos is slightly brighter, and it is green compared to the blue in the Rolex. So preferences again. The steel. The steel on most watches these days is 316L, and it certainly is in all the Seiko SKX lineups, and I think probably most all Seikos. In the Rolex, it is their proprietary 904L steel. I do not know if it is harder. The only thing that I have heard for certain that Rolex claims that it will take a finer brushing, and aesthetically it looks better. That they've claimed. I've heard no claims that it's harder. I've heard claims also that it is more resistant to salt water. Again, don't know if there's any truth to that. I would guess, if I had to, that it is, and that's why they've done it. But again, I have no idea. The crowns are both screw-down crowns. This has the trip-lock system in it, which is superior. This just has your standard sort of crown with your gasket there. This has a very high crown protector. You can see that it almost goes up and over, which kind of makes it a bit of a pain in the ass to unscrew, I'll be honest. Whereas the Rolex, you can see it has a crown protector, but not nearly as high. Kind of goes about halfway through the crown, whereas this one goes almost to the end of the crown. So personal preference, I think. The one thing that I do like about the SKX over the Submariner is the position of the crown. The crown being at the 4 o'clock position on the SKX, I think, is a superior design to the 3 o'clock position on the Rolex. It doesn't bite into your wrist if you wear your watches closer to your hand. I don't. I have that. I'm going to put these down. I'll show you that knob that a lot of us guys have that have skinny wrists. That knob on that bone there, I wear my watches behind that knob, okay? And I do it for all my watches. So for me, it doesn't really matter, but overall design, I think a 4 o'clock crown position is superior. You guys can disagree or agree. So that is kind of it for the comparisons. I just wanted to get this one quick video out because I don't see a lot of comparisons between these two watches. They're both extremely popular. So I wanted to get that out. It's been a Gassy Jack gear review. Please leave comments, questions, whatever you have, and I will get back to you. And don't be afraid to subscribe. I do appreciate those too. See you again. Bye-bye.